You got a Christmas tree back there?
Yeah, I have it up year round. My
Okay,
Christmas
sorry
tree,
about that.
My Christmas
That's all
tree is
good.
up year round, Alex.
All right, that's cool.
I don't light
Okay.
it up until Christmas time, but it's up.
Well, of course. You don't want to put on airs, you know?
I want to get like decorations that are like seasonal for like other holidays for it, like 4th of July tinsel.
Yeah,
put a
you
little Uncle Sam hat on the top of it.
Yeah. I want the 4th of July tree. It's more interesting. What's up, everybody? Welcome to On the Record, a punk music podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Newman, alongside Ben Brennan. What's going on, Ben?
Not much, just manifesting.
That's good. Also, welcome our guest, Justin Schaefer. What's up,
Hi.
Justin?
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
As you said before, it's a long time coming, but we have long been friends and talked about Lagwagon for, pretty much the entire time we've been friends.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We've never really gotten super in-depth on a record, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, for sure. Especially this record in particular.
Yes.
Since it's really I feel like it should be the entry point for anybody who listens to this band. I like, as far as like Duh is like whatever. I mean, it's not that great of an album, I don't think. Trashed is fine, but like it's really Haas's when they like kind of click, I think, as a band. So it's always like I love revisiting this album every once in a while, especially because like I'm older now, and then it still makes me feel like I'm 15 again, kind of thing. So
yeah,
I have the same relationship with it. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. All right. On the Record is a fan podcast where we discuss the Fat Records catalog, mostly album by album, absolutely side by side, and with a liberal definition of chronologically. We have no true music expertise. We're just some friends shooting the shit about the albums we loved growing up. Ben, I'm looking forward to talking to you about Lagwagon Sauce, and you too, Justin. But first, can you remind me why we decided on such a daunting quest?
I mean, originally, again, it seemed like a very manageable format for a podcast, but I think as this introduction is really hammered in, we started this because of friendship.
The power of friendship. You want to go through the liner notes?
Yeah. So we're talking about Lagwagon Sauce today. It was released on November 21st, 1995, so it just recently turned 26.
Yes.
It's a ripe age for Haas. The band lineup was Joey Cape, Chris Flippin, Sean Dewey, Jesse Buglioni, and Derek Plord. It was recorded at Fat Planet Studios, Hyde Street Studios, and the Razor's Edge. Produced, recorded, and mixed by Ryan Green. All songs written by Joey Cape. That's kind of nuts. I didn't realize that this was recorded at 3 different studios because while there's a lot of variety in the songs, it sounds very cohesive.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I was surprised too when I saw that it was recorded in that many different places.
Yeah, you can kind of tell in some parts of it though, because some of the songs have a slightly different sound to them than the other songs, Yeah. Especially like when you get to the B-sides, like a couple of those songs sound like they were definitely recorded by a different engineer completely than, the rest of that album or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's most noticeable in the B-sides. But I think even on the album, there's definitely some you can spot some places where you probably tell which ones were recorded somewhere else if you're really paying attention.
So the cover of this uses a photo of Dan Blocker, and this is when I learned his name, as his character Eric Haas Cartwright, right? From the Western television show Bonanza, which I think I may have seen twice as a kid on Nick at Night, or what was the Nick at Night 24-hour station?
TV Land?
TV Land.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen Bonanza. But
it's to say that it is in the light of nowadays problematic is a slight understatement. That's for sure.
Really? Okay.
Well, yeah, because it's a Western, so it has a lot of stereotypes and stuff, and there's a lot of not so flattering Asian stereotypes in it.
Oh,
such as their trail cook being named Hop Sing. So, not
Oh boy.
fantastic, but it was on for 453 episodes. So, like,
What?
yeah,
No.
it's
Isn't it
100%.
one of the longest running TV shows?
Yeah.
Is it really?
That show and like Gunsmoke are like the two longest running like primetime shows ever made, I think.
400 episodes?
Yeah, 400 something. I think it's like 450 whatever. Yeah. So
Whoa.
maybe you should start a podcast going through each one of those.
It's got structure.
True.
Oh my god. That's
All right.
insane.
Well, Alex, let's get started. Let's talk about side one.
All right, let's do it. Well, actually, let's I think this is we talked about this for No Use for a Name, Leche con Carne, but because that was sort of the first record I think that shows Fat Wreck's shift towards doing the pop punk thing. Because that was the first one that I really think that you saw one of these bands like take that influence and really amp it up. But I think that Haas is the first one that does it in a really like highly original way. And I think this record's far better than Leche con Carne.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I mean, Lagwagon themselves on this record, as Justin said in our intro, they really overhauled the sound for this record. And depending on who you ask, that it's very good or very bad. Because from what I've been able to tell over the years, when talking to like Lagwagon fans or just seeing people making comments on the internet about Lagwagon, it seems like Haas created like a rift in the fan base a little bit because they moved from doing melodic hardcore to doing something that's much closer to like pop punk, like what Green Day was doing. And like Justin, when did you get into this record? Did you get into it when it first came out?
Yeah, like when it came out. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was when this album came out, not to date myself or anything and turn into fucking dust on this podcast, but I was 15 years old when this came out, so I was like the perfect age for this specific album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like honestly, like that beginning part of like NoFX, like their whole discography and everything, like that when Punk and Drublet came out and then this album and everything, like that was kind of like the start of like my fascination with like skate punk and that kind of thing, because I was always before that like a Green Day, Ramones type pop punk, fucking idiot or whatever. little buttons in my I had a houndstooth hat because I was really into ska music at the time too, so
Oh, hell yeah.
The dedication.
Oh yeah, I was 100%. I had bowling shoes that I wore to ska shows, so like that I stole from a bowling alley. So I was one of those guys.
I mean, we were friends with a fuck ton of those guys in high school too.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
sure,
to some
yeah.
degree, we both were. Like what you're describing, I think, is fairly similar to my own transition into this music, as was Alex's, I think, too. Right?
Yeah, it's just the barrier of entry is just a slightly different kind, slate of bands.
For sure.
Really.
Yeah,
It's like, but really not that different. I mean, but you start in one place and then you sort of usually work your way backwards from the mainstream to way more obscure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This album was definitely like my entry point, because I had heard Lagwagon before. Obviously, a lot of times, like, because back in those days, the way you heard a lot of those bands was like the compilations. Like so many compilations would come out. Like every week, it seemed like a record label was popping up and having a compilation, with different songs on it. But you would hear like songs by Lagwagon, and I always liked Joey's voice, but I never really liked the song. Like I never really enjoyed the band that much. And then this album came out, and like as soon as I heard this album, like I was like hooked. That was like the end of it. They became like my favorite band and still are to this day,
Yeah, for sure. But like when you were like back then, like did you know other people who were really into the band, like with Duh and Trashed, and like how did they listen to Haas and be like, oh, I hate this?
No, actually I think I was maybe myself and my friend Josh that I went to high school with. I think we were like the only two people who listened to anything on Fat Records, and
Oh,
like
okay.
he loved this album too, but like he wasn't as extreme in his love of it as I was, where I was just listening to it all the time and everything. But I remember him really liking it. But I've always tended towards like the more like pop side of things anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So it like really connected with me. Whereas I can see like somebody, you know, especially if you were from California at the time, like that was all hardcore stuff, you know, going on. So I can see why somebody wouldn't be as into this. But then if you weren't on board with this album, you weren't going to be on board with the rest of their discography. I can say that because they really
Yeah.
leaned into this. And there's like the Lagwagon sound is something that is nobody replicates it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of bands that sort of sound like Lagwagon because they're, by virtue of the fact that they're a skate punk band, but like nothing sounds like Lagwagon. They've kind of carved out that niche for themselves, which I think is really interesting. It's sort of like a Dillinger 4 type thing, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people who kind of have part of it, but they don't sound exactly like that. Whereas you
Right.
get a lot of other bands that sound, you know, for like No Use for a Name, you have 7,000 bands that sound like No Use for a Name, like down to the same kind of like Tony Sly vocals and shit, you know. Whereas with Lagwagon, you don't have that. There's no other Joey Cape, you know. So like that's what I got on board with immediately. It was always his voice, so I really liked it, and like this was the thing that clicked for me. Whereas I guess if you were a person who liked like Section 8, like his old band or whatever, and then went to like Trashed and Done, whatever, like you wouldn't really like this as much, I guess.
Yeah. It from what I've experienced with like people, like older people that like really like the early Lagwagon stuff and like stuff I've seen people make comments online, it really is like they don't like the rest of the catalog. It's really just the first two that those people really
That's so
like.
strange to me. I just can't imagine like listening to this album and being like, no, I hate this.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fan of punk music, I feel like you're gonna like this album is like such a classic example of how to do it right. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like on a level, like almost every single song, except for like maybe two, are like just like it just destroys. This whole album just rips the entire time, and I just don't know how you're like, oh, I just enjoy their early work, and it's like, what are you fucking talking about?
It has to just be the pop element of it, because it's very different from coming off of Trash.
Yeah.
You know, right off the bat. You know, I think, you know, the sound on this record, I would describe it as like lighter. It's fast and like compact the way that they've written it.
I've
Yeah.
got two potential descriptions of the sound. So
Okay.
they both came to me this morning on my drive to work, which was actually I was off today and didn't realize it. I got to campus and
All right.
the parking lots were all empty. But
Classic Ben.
I've been listening to this a bunch, and I feel like I would almost call this emo thrash. In particular, there's like a lot of like Jawbreaker influence on it. To me,
Well, there is
particularly
because
like an unfun or 24-hour Jawbreaker influence. And like I think that at least two songs on this are possibly about Jawbreaker, or at least were inspired by Jawbreaker.
Be interested to hear about that. Yeah, I think like one of the big elements they changed here was that like the distortion is a lot of times like a lot more like reined in. And they play the songs in, I guess, like a higher key, if that's like the proper terminology. And it makes it just like sound brighter, and like a way that like highlights all of the pop elements.
And it's like fucking chunky too. Like the distortion and stuff on this, it's like so deep. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like it's so bassy. Like, and that's another thing I really like, because they took that page from the playbook of fucking NoFX, because NoFX has that very kind of chunky distortion, like bass sound to them, and then they just kind of applied it to this. And I think largely to a more successful degree, as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah, like. Yeah, it's like you said before. Haas is like the first album where they fully developed and clicked on like their own sort of niche sound within the genre. You know, it like this is the first one where it feels like they have like it's more complete. It has like the band has their own stylistic choices that sort of further define their own sound instead of like borrowing things from other people.
Oh yeah.
And I like that, like, you know, like they mix in a lot more bass on this record. Like, you know, you hear a lot more of the bass going solo, and then like they do a little bit of like clean guitar strokes here and there. And like they're not always playing full speed, and they know when to like pull back and sort of let the tempo breathe before, you know, for like a minute. And then of course, like I think one of the biggest elements like for them was Joey just like really stepping up his game on this record. It's crazy like how much better he
Yeah,
is than he was on the other ones.
That's another thing is like you got to wonder like what happened in his life that he all of a sudden like what he unlocked like a part of his brain that could just write these amazing songs just, you know, just one after the other. Because like for like from this album all the way, I would say, I mean, obviously to Resolve, like his songwriting is like flawless. It's so good. It's just nuts. I have no idea how you can even be that good of a songwriter for that long of a time. Because usually if somebody writes that many songs, you're going to have like a bunch of clunkers in there. But he's just like on a roll for like the next like 10 years of their existence, basically.
Yeah, man, he's in the fucking zone.
There's so many levels to the lyrics too, is what I'm finding while going back through them. I honestly wasn't able to go through the lyrics to all of them, but I found that there were a lot of like there's like kind of the base level of like what the lyrics are saying, but then like if you dig deeper, like with like the wordplay and stuff, there tends to be something a little bit further underneath it that I thought was really cool. Coming back to, I hadn't read the lyrics to these songs in since I was probably in high school, or sat with them like that. But yeah, the other sound thing I heard with this was I would almost call it like, and I think it was what you're talking about with like the cleaner guitars. Like it almost sounds like like jangle rock mixed with skate punk. Like the guitars get very jangly at times. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that. But yes, to speak to the lyrics thing, they're just significantly more sophisticated. Without sacrificing, the humor or the variety of different things that he talks about, which I think is great.
It's very like it's very nuanced songwriting. Like if that's like the phrase that I would use to describe it, because you're right. There's so many levels that like are at play with a lot of the things that he's saying in the songs, but they're like also very easy to understand what he's talking about. So it's not like there's nothing hidden from you, but there is like a lot to dissect if you really want to dive into it.
Yeah. With that said, let's start by talking about Kids Don't Like to Share.
The thing I wrote down was that like Lagwagon has this knack of like, I always think they have like almost a perfect ability to pick a leadoff song for their albums. There's something about like this song for sure is just like it just as soon as it starts, you're like, this is fucking awesome, basically.
Yeah, that bass line, and then Joey starts singing right before the rest of the band kicks in.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah, it's literally one of the coolest sounding thing. Like every time I hear this song, I kind of get like a little chill because I'm like, oh, that's I don't know what you were doing in the studio you thought to do this, but like you starting singing right before you fucking just like slam into this song is amazing to me.
Yeah, I love that. Just like it jumps from just like very slow bass to just full speed, like fucking go.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's almost like they knew. They're like, all right, it's almost like we're reintroducing the band here. Just having that really like slow build up because it's like 30 seconds of just like very quiet bass.
Yeah, which is so funny because like I feel like if you were like in a car and you were like, is the album playing right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it would just like destroy your eardrums because you're like,
yeah. It's like, I really like the song. It's actually not one of my favorites from the record, but I do really like it. It works really well as an opening track. and then like what I like the most about this song are the lyrics.
Mhm.
And this one feels almost like it's almost like a redo of Know It All in terms of like what he's the sort of topic. Because but it's just like a more interesting way of like executing on the lyrics than in that song. Um, just because he's using a lot of language that's connected to religion and religious figures, but it's about underground music, just like how people champion one band above all others, and then
Right.
that band finds success, the fans just turn and burn them down, and then they move on to another band where they sort of repeat the process.
Yeah, it's such an astute observation for a song to make. You know what I mean? Like, especially as a statement song, because this is definitely like a defining statement for this band. Like coming out with this album and everything. Like, that's essentially like this song is like predicting what was going to happen with their fan base.
Yeah.
Well, and so this is one of the ones that I thought that possibly
Yeah, this could be about Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker. Yeah. One of the ones that was possibly about Jawbreaker, or
I think
they inspired, because like that whole thing with them was happening right before this record came out.
Was
right?
was this around the era when they signed to Geffen? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
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 That makes sense. I could see that.
Yeah.
I also think that this song is partially, you could read it as like, as that, obviously it is about the music scene, but it's also like, you could read it as like people who, like, like somebody who constantly is like searching for some like form of spirituality. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
like every person now that like you see all the time posting horoscopes and like nonsense like that, and they're just like, because they're just grasping and like they need something to believe in, that kind of
Yes.
thing. And then it also, I thought, was like, you could take it as like another thing would be like a person who's like a serial monogamist, like it's just constantly always in a relationship, and is always looking for
Yeah.
someone else, when they get out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about this song too, is that there's so many things that you could take from it,
Is this the song that inspired "Don't Take Dogma from Strangers"? I love that shirt, and it to me, like that shirt sums up this this song.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, for sure.
I forgot about that shirt. That's a good shirt. Forgot about that one.
Didn't one of you have it at some point?
No, I didn't. I definitely didn't, but I wish I
never
did.
had that one. I think
I love that one.
It must have been somebody else that we knew that had that shirt.
Yeah.
Because I think I wanted it, but I think somebody else we knew had it, so I didn't buy it.
Yeah, you don't do it. It's such a dumb thing. Well, and that's another thing that you could even. Well, no, that's better with other songs. I was almost going to say it's like almost a song about gatekeeping. And the other thing,
it sort of is though.
Yeah.
It is like, because you can apply this to Jawbreaker or Green Day.
And then like the kids part of the title, I think, really is showing that like the song's about almost like emotional maturity, right? Like you have this music scene, right? Again, because I think it's still very anchored in punk music, the things he's writing, and it's just such immaturity. To the whole, like you sold out, you backstabbed us, and like again,
Right.
like they're not listening to the lyrics. That's I guess how you know that this is firmly centered in, at least to me, the punk scene, I guess, in particular.
Yeah. I mean, and like the fact that it can speak to other things, when I'm pretty certain that this is about the music scene. It's not about anything else.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't, apply it to those other ideas and
Oh,
just
yeah.
have it not work. And that's where, like, right off the bat, it's like so much more depth to the lyrics, so much more that you can pull from it, and you can apply, your own views to something without, a lot of the lyrics that we've, read up to this point have been, it just kind of is what it is. It's just, there's no like deeper meaning necessarily than what's written down.
Propaganda,
Right.
sort of. but that's mostly just them cramming in a bunch of like political references that are very obscure.
Yeah. Well, that requires a depth of knowledge.
Yes,
And not,
yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, violins. It's a classic.
I mean,
right?
come on. What are you gonna do? This song
Yeah.
fucking destroys. It's so
Yeah,
good.
man, this is a fucking excellent song. And I would say this is probably the most well-known song from this record.
It's according to
certainly has-
Spotify,
Yeah, it
it's
has
the
the most
second
plays.
most well-known song. Or I thought May 16th was first.
Yeah, I would imagine May
yeah.
16th is their most well-known song for sure.
It is.
But yeah,
It is.
off of this record for sure. But it was
from this
number
record.
2 overall, which was, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It probably is. Yeah, it's certainly the best. Probably the best song on the record. I don't know. I like a lot of them.
I think I mean this song was on every compilation you could get your hands on in 1990, like the mid 90s. Like every single time
Oh.
Lagwagon appeared on a comp, that this song, it was violins every time, because it's a perfect sort of introduction to this band, I think, and especially the sound that they were looking for in this album, like, and what they ended up being. It's like an encapsulation of that entire thing, you know?
Yeah. How many comps are we talking here? Because
Well, I mean, you know,
Just-
Fat was always releasing like the Fat music for fat people stuff and all that kind of
Mhm. stuff,
and then you had, I mean, I don't know, back then, like I said, like there were so many compilation CDs, because that's how like bands, especially in that scene, would get around. You know what I mean? You, to some extent, of course, you had like this like 7-inch like mail order stuff you could get. You know, obviously that was a big way to do it. But if you would go to a CD store or a record store or whatever back then, and somebody who worked there was cool, they would always have like a whole big section of just compilation albums of like just punk bands and stuff. So like you would have like, you know, I would imagine like back then, like No Idea was just starting out. So like they released like, I feel like every week there was like a new compilation CD from No Idea. And it would always be, because they were a distro at the time and they weren't even really a record label. So they had like, they would have like bands from like all over the place and like all different genres and everything. So that was why violins would just be on everything, you know, which I wasn't mad about because it's a fucking awesome song.
Right.
You know?
That's funny to hear, because I just didn't realize, because, you know, obviously like comps over time they've all but disappeared now, but you know, even when me and Ben were getting into music, like comps they were big. There were a good number of them, but they weren't so like in your face, like everywhere. I don't think.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think it was just like I think it was really just the 90s. Like CDs were so cheap to produce. You know what I mean? Especially once. This isn't even like things in a jewel case or whatever. Most of the time, these comps were just in a plastic slip case. So it was just like, I don't know, some guy in his basement that had $300 and bought a CD burner back when they were like really expensive, could just make one and then put it out, you know?
Right.
It didn't take much, but that's the reason why there were so many. I swear, like I used to have like stacks of them. Like there was probably like 3 or 4 like pages in my CD booklet that was just compilation albums. But also that was cool. It was fun because you get all kinds of shit. You don't have to just listen to one thing and switch out CDs and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I remember that they were all very cheap if they weren't free.
Yeah.
Like Punkorama's Fat Music for Fat People, those were never more than $5 usually, right?
Like the Hopelessly Devoted series and stuff, which was always like that kind of thing was good because you got like they would always put a lot of B-sides and stuff that you would never hear from those bands because, you know, they never put those songs out. So you just end up with those songs on like compilations and everything. But Violins was the one exception where they were just like, no, we're putting this on every fucking CD we can find and we're going to shove it in your face and you're going to love it.
Well, I mean, that would at least partially explain why it's one of the most well-known songs from the band.
Yeah.
Because the other, you know, May 16th, the reason that one is so big was because of fucking Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Right.
Like, that is
the ultimate compilation CD.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It kind of was.
That was most people's first punk compilation.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
From like probably Alex and I's generation, that was most people's first punk comp.
Yeah, there's so many people I've met over the years that was their first exposure to any punk music whatsoever. That's what got them into it, was literally because you would sit there for 20 hours playing Tony Hawk, hearing the same like 12 songs over and over. Eventually, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I like this. I'll go check out whatever, you know.
Fucking MK Ultra shit. Tony Hawk was a psyop.
We'll stick with that narrative. So let's talk about the lyrics to Violins.
Sure.
What? Because I mean, I have my read on it, but I can see how it could maybe differ depending on each person's, sort of take. Ben, what did you think?
So I think at the most basic level, it's about kind of having, I think, really strong feelings of love for somebody and not really knowing how to regulate it, and you fucking it up every single time. Like the clumsy words escape from my mouth sort of line. And then like there's just kind of like, it's almost like describing kind of this like karmic reaction of like that I grasp for your heart with my claws or whatever, that line. Open my claws and grasp for your heart sort of thing. Like I like it a lot, but I agree that there's probably like a million interpretations of this.
I always just thought it was like a real self-pity song.
Yes.
Like it was just
that was my read.
Yeah, like there's a couple of songs on this album that are, I think, inspired by Joey Cape just like being a cute guy in Southern California and like girls like him or whatever, but he's kind of an asshole. Like, he's like he's probably like 21 when this, or 22 when he wrote this album or something like that.
Maybe so fucking mature with some of these lyrics.
Oh no, it's that's
no
what's wild
idea.
about it. He's like, what? Okay, so this is 26 years ago. So if he's like 52 now. So what? 24 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
So like that's nuts to have that kind of command over lyricism when you're 24 years old. But also like, I don't know, he's just like, some of these songs are just about being a little shitty asshole sometimes. And like, I think that's what this song's about, is just like, I like this person, but they clearly are with somebody that they like, but I hate that. So like, I'm mad. And like, that's why violins, because, you play the violin for somebody who's like,
That's right. That was my read, was that the whole idea of violins was that it's a play on that, the world's smallest violin is playing for you when you're feeling down on yourself.
That's what I assumed it was too. And then like, I also think like it is like sort of about him also recognizing in himself, like the claws grasping for someone's heart thing. Like it's him recognizing in himself that he also is like a shithead. Like the person that this person's with is an asshole, but he's feeling sorry for himself. But he recognizes that like he's also a dick because he wouldn't do any better, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think he makes it pretty clear that he's at fault and he knows it, but he just can't help himself.
No.
You know what it is? It is the non-incel version of I'm the One.
That is what, I got.
I'll accept that.
Yeah. This is the he heard I'm the one,
that
he's
song
like
too, but that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. That's very good.
That's good stuff.
But this song like is just so good. I wrote down probably one of the best self-pity songs of all time. That was my note on this one.
I think that's fair. Yeah, this is one of the highlights from a record that's just full of highlights. All right, let's talk about name dropping, which is just, I think this song just is kind of amazing to me that this is on the record, because it's just like, it's a pretty clear snapshot of where the band was at, like when he wrote it. And it's just crazy. Like, he's just calling out the whole band on some fucked up shit. Like, everyone is smoking H. I tried not to laugh today. And then he says, he has all those individual call outs too. Just like, Kevin hates the girls he dates. Derek beats up all his girlfriends. Hanasek is on the wagon. It's like, damn, dude. Like, how did they even record this without everybody just being like, well, fuck you?
I'm kind of surprised, but he also like calls himself out too when he's like, you know what I mean? Like, but also like, I think the whole thing is just, this song is just about his own insecurity. Like, because he sees all these other people doing stuff, but he just keeps his fucking mouth shut, and he doesn't think anybody wants to hear anything he has to say. So, like, I like that, and I like this song, but, like, it's one of those, like, the beginning of this song annoys the living shit out of me for some reason. I don't know why. Like, until the actual song starts, I'm like, why is this happening exactly?
I forgot about that.
You know, but then, like, once it gets in there, I'm like, it's pretty good, and it's like, it's an okay song, and it's just like him venting his frustration or whatever. But my favorite thing in the world is Jesse, because he likes to comb his hair. It's like, what a great, that lyric is amazing, because it's like all these other people are fucking doing all kinds of shit, and then Jesse's just over here just
Well, he also says Chris is weird, he must be gay.
yeah.
It's very generic.
So
It's
I imagine what inspired him to write this song, because of the name dropping, and like everything he's talking about here is like basically gossiping. Is like,
Yeah.
I like to imagine that what's happening to him is he sees one person walk away from the group, and then they all just fucking gossip about the person. You know,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like imagine them on tour, right?
Yeah.
One of the
Sure.
guys walks away, they all start talking shit, and so what he's thinking in his head is, they're all fucking talking shit about me.
Oh yeah,
All the
yeah.
time.
I think
Second
you're
I
right.
walk away, they're judging every little thing I do, because that's what they're doing to everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for Jesse, he's combing his hair. Don't.
Jesse's a good
He's
guy.
not doing shit. He's a good guy. But also, I wonder if like this is like, I wonder if this song was written, like using things that people have said about the people in the band. You know what I mean? Like shit that he heard other people say, like gossiping about them behind their back, and like, because like I don't think you're gonna put in there that that Derek Plore beat up his girlfriend, like, and it was real. You know what I mean? That would be real fucked up
That's
admission,
possible.
and like that kind of thing. I think it's one of those things that he, like in that fucking in his, because it's punk music is the most insular fucking incestual community in the world. So it's like that, you know, anytime you're in a city and you know it, people in that scene, it's always like they have so much to say about each other, but they're not really saying anything at all because they don't actually know anything about each other, you know? So it's always just like hearsay and, you know, dumb things like that. Somebody, because I would imagine like the thing where it's like Kevin hates the girls he dates, is like somebody saying that because they don't like him. You know what I mean? Like they're saying like, oh, he doesn't deserve to be with her because he doesn't even fucking like her, you know, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Or it could have even been in zines. I always want to call them zines. Too.
Oh, yeah,
that was
that's
just
true.
like people talk shit in those at that time, right?
Yeah, no, that is what it was. Yeah. Because even this, like when he calls himself out for that girl, like they like it's clearly like somebody said like, oh, she fucked Joey, you know, that thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's all that shit like always in every punk scene. Is just that the reason why they all fucking suck most of the time, because everybody's such an asshole that they can't get past themselves, and they all have such strong opinions, because that's the whole point of like punk rock, is to be like your own person and have that kind of thing. And then that's what happens, is they just start talking shit about each other. Yeah, and this is what you get.
That's right.
Everybody's smoking H, and Jesse just over there combing his fucking hair like the Fonz, you know?
I think it means that he's vain.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so too. Or he thinks he's hot shit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Bombs Away, which is another major song from this record.
I mean, yeah. This is up in like my probably top 3 favorite Lagwagon songs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. This song, I just, every time I hear this song, it's like, I don't know, it's like a warm fucking blanket or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a good song, and it gives me such a specific feeling of like remembering, you know, when you're younger or whatever. But not even that, because I don't even have nostalgia for it, because I just think it's a good song. It isn't even something like I would play this song for somebody and be like, this is a good song. This isn't something I like because I remember it being good. This is a really good, well-written song.
Yeah. For me, this is probably like the closest that they get to having like the anthem pop punk song like before May 16th. It just has that like a grander sort of feel to it in a lot of ways. It's just those sing-alongs towards the end.
Oh yeah, those sing-alongs are very, very well done.
Yeah. And I really like that about it. Yeah, this one, I mean, I agree. Like this just it really like it holds up beyond just like, oh, this is, an old song that I used to listen to all the time. Like, no, it's just like legitimately like a really good song.
Yeah, it's great, and in my mind, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but like I think this song is just about somebody who like is like basically like has told off their entire family like at like a Thanksgiving or something like that, and now like nobody wants to be around them kind of thing, like they're just like they've been like it's been building up a long time and they just want to fucking like bomb everybody with it.
That's sort of like I was definitely like close to that interpretation. It's just like it's like a person who's trying to elicit some sympathy for their like situation in life, always using it as an excuse, and then Joey's finding it so draining to be their friend that it's time for him to just go.
Sure, yeah.
But I think he's like this in a lot of his songs about like people like this. He seems to be very compassionate towards the person. Seems to accept like your family like didn't seem to like love you or care about you, so it makes sense that you are acting this way, sort of thing. But I can't be the one to fix this.
Yeah, he can't deal with it anymore. And I think there's at least one other song on here that does that exact same thing, but in a different way. But I just like the lyric. Your family never wanted this one with all of her flaws, but I want to know, was this deprivation for money or for love? And I think that's sort of like him just wondering like where it's actually coming from. Like what's the reason why you're acting like this?
Right. Yeah. Why do you feel so fucking horrible? You know what I mean? Like this is also one of those songs that has one of those things that Lagwagon sometimes does where like the part where it says, and you punish me as though I punish you. The next line starts with the last word of that line. So it's like the coolest. I just think that's so cool sounding when he does it because it's such a weird way to do a structure of a song. But like you don't forget it. It's so cool sounding that you're just like, oh yeah, this is a great moment in any song that I've ever heard,
They do that with the chorus too. I never actually, so maybe I found like mistyped up lyrics on the internet, but I had no idea that the first bombs away in the chorus is actually bombs await.
Yeah.
And it kind of like that makes that chorus sound really cool too, because like it's basically saying bombs await you.
Yeah.
And then like kind of like distorts itself as it goes.
Right.
There's really good wordplay in this as well, or some other good wordplay, which is the line about you think you'll show us all your or you've got a thing about being lame. You think you'll show us all your handicap is great.
Yeah.
Lameness is a handicap, like like medically, literally, right?
Yeah.
And I never, so maybe I'm just slow to this, but I did not pick that up until like the last night or something like that. I was like, oh, that's genius.
Yeah, it's some great wordplay. Love it.
Yeah, it's just somebody like it's clearly like a song about somebody leaning on the bad part of themselves and trying to make everybody else feel sorry for them, because like their family doesn't want to fucking hear it anymore. He doesn't want to hear it anymore, but he's not going to be an asshole about it except write a song about it, I guess.
Well, he's compassionate. He's showing her tough love.
Yeah, I mean,
I assumed it was a her.
Or whoever. I mean,
I guess it didn't have to be. I assumed that it was about a girlfriend or a friend.
He uses the pronoun her,
and he also says something about living in your bedroom too.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's just a friend, but he could also.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a roommate or a girlfriend or or a friend or whatever.
Maybe Joey was crashing there for a while.
Or maybe he's just like hiding under a bed because he's a little creep,
Is that a height joke?
Well, I don't know if he could walk under her bed. He's not that short.
Oh, that's true.
He has like one of those little mechanics crawlers. He's like rolling under there, you know.
I mean, that's what I like to do, but you know, don't.
Well, yeah, who doesn't?
Fucking, don't give it away.
That's something. Okay.
Any more comments on Bombs Away?
No, just a great song. Go listen to it.
Yeah, it's a great one. Okay, let's talk about Move the Car, which this is actually one of my favorite songs on this record, and it always
Really?
has been.
Me too.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I love this song. It's because it's odd, you know. I like the structure of it. The way that like it just constantly like builds, and then like goes, and then it like resets. It starts off. It just like has like it like introduces new elements as it sort of shifts gears, which is, you know, part of what like I'm saying it as like, you know, shifting gears as in a car. So it just kind of like it's the structure of the song that kind of makes sense with the title. But what's really interesting are the lyrics, which are it's a hard read, I think. Like
I wrote down this song is almost inscrutable because of some of like the weird things in it.
It's esoteric.
Very much so. But I mean, like the thing is like the actual verses aren't that hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just about like feeling like a fraud and like, you know, like getting older and like feeling like you're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. But I can't understand like what the chorus is saying.
I know.
Okay, so I've got an idea about that. Alex, you said you have some ideas about what the song's about, though.
I do. My read on it, I mean, so like for the longest time, I just never knew. I just couldn't figure it out. It's probably just because I never really like sat there and put in as much mental effort as I did this time around. And even then, I still don't even know if I'm kind of on the mark here. But like I still like have no idea like where some of these words are coming from. Like bowling race car driver, I don't know what the fuck that means. Does it mean anything? Is that some sort of reference to a very specific thing?
I think
I'm
it
not
is.
sure.
I think it's to some degree insanely personal, but I think I've got some insight into it.
Probably. But I get the feeling that it's about trying to adhere to a worldview, but being unable to stick with it, and it makes him feel like a fraud. And like the car is sort of like the vehicle that's driving that. That's just the best that I can do.
Okay.
And I think that the lyrics that give the biggest clue towards that come at the end when he's talking about being old, and he says, "In the arms of old age, knowing only one to lose, feeling nothing more to hide, consider life a forgery. As you're gagging on your scene, admit to fraudulence, driven to this thought, death is certain, faith is not."
Yeah. I think that there's a bit of that. So I read this as Joey slowly starting to lose his ego, is what he's singing about. And that is what the bowling race car driver is, and the superficial hitman. Basically, like those are stories he tells himself about what he is in his head, but he knows that like that's all bullshit. You don't bowl or race fast cars. Right. And it's about the ego drive in relation to being in this fucking toxic ass punk scene, which he's been singing about like over and over again. Like that competition you drive thing there. Like, you know, he's kind of losing his interest in the pettiness that he's surrounded by. And so like I'm gagging on their scene, right? Like that's where I think that's coming on there. And I also think that fucking the 90s won't be back again until I'm 48 years old is like him realizing like these are your fucking glory days. They're not coming back until like 20 years from when this album came out.
Yeah.
Which I think was pretty close to when he was 48. So he's like a fucking prophet on this record.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I was like, it's pretty prescient because like he says that, and he's only off by a couple years because like the 90s are fully back. Like everybody's dressing like 90s stuff, listening to 90s music and all kind of thing. So like he was like 4 years off because he's like 52 or whatever. Close. So yeah, he's not too far off, but like pretty good prediction. However,
yeah, I think so.
I'm not gonna go too far into it, but like some of these lyrics here are like to me like screaming like this man's going through fucking ego death right now. What he's saying there, like he's slowly like learning not to give a shit about like all the other stuff going around him, and in particular, learning to not give a shit about like the fucking fake ass competition that's going on around him. You know, like the pissant petty competition that he's
it's like he sees people trying to create a competition that's not there, and he doesn't want any part of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a really good interpretation of everything, Ben.
I mean, I don't think it's the only one, but it does make those lyrics make sense.
No, it all lines up as far as I'm concerned. Like, and that's like I was in the ballpark.
You were,
but yeah, I just couldn't quite put all that together. But that was a good read.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's sort of a song that's saying like, what the fuck does any of this matter? I'm gonna die anyway. So like, why am I worrying about the shit that like, you know, Jesse combing his hair or whatever, fuck, you know, that kind of thing. Like why?
So I really like to imagine, Alex, was the Troubadour around in 1995?
I'm fairly certain it was, yes.
So I like to imagine that he had parked at one of those meters near it, and the move the car is a reference to like while the band's about ready to go on, somebody tells him that he's got to move his fucking car or it's gonna get towed.
And he says, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the bowling race car driver.
I'm on the guest list.
You can't tell me what to do."
Well, Justin, so like you seemed a little surprised that me and Ben like the song so much. Do you really like this one or not?
I'm not as big of a fan of it, just because like I think tonally it doesn't like make sense compared to the first, 4 songs or whatever. But like I still like it. Obviously, it's not a bad song. It's definitely not a song I would take off the album. That's for sure. Because I think it still has its like place, but it just feels like it sort of feels like it's from a different album or something like that to me. For whatever reason, I feel like it would make more sense on Double Platinum than it does on this album. For whatever,
really? Oh.
I don't know why. I think because that album's sort of all over the place. So like, I think this is sort of one of those like weird songs that feels like sort of all over the place to me. So
yeah, there's a few like this on here. I definitely thought this one and a couple others sounded more like the songs on Double Platinum for sure.
Yeah.
Because this album still has remnants of what they were doing on the previous albums.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, in spots, yes. But yeah, I think the Move the Car is definitely a song that signals where they go as opposed to where they've been. And I don't know. I think this I really like this song so much because where I think it fits everything like else that's on the record that we've talked about so far is like in how creative the structure is and how it still has that sort of like it has like a similar cadence and like because like a lot of the songs on this record are very bouncy and this still kind of has that feel to it. It does like for me it feels like it fits in on the record quite well.
I think definitely like as far as the subject matter goes, it does. Absolutely. Because like a lot of these songs are about sort of this thing, like him coming to terms with like a reckoning of his own bullshit, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's talk about Sleep.
I love that we're psychoanalyzing Joey Cape.
He wrote all the songs. He gets what he deserves.
Sleep is one of those songs that was also on a lot of comps because I don't know why, but it was. But it's not. I don't feel like it's representative of Lagwagon sound, however. But I love this song. I just think it's so good. Like it's a fucking dumbass song. It's like it's so stupid, but I love it.
I love it the way I love Razorburn, which we'll talk a lot about, I'm sure, later.
Yeah. So for sure, absolutely.
This song is very much in the same vein as Mr. Coffee. Because it's fast, it's short, it's fun, it's not taking itself too seriously, but the lyrics are actually like really just entertaining.
For sure.
There's a lot of color to the lyrics.
It's like a little short story that he was like,
Yeah.
oh, I like, I don't know. It's about this little guy going to camp and then he gets sick and he wants to come home and, I don't know, jack off or whatever the fuck. I don't know what's happening in this song.
That is a very interesting one. That is not how I took it, but
I just took it as he's out on tour and he can't wait to get back home to his.
Oh yeah, I mean for sure, but
girl.
I'm talking about in the way it's presented though.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's supposed to be like a letter from camp or whatever, but I know it's about being on tour.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I didn't mean literally. I thought he was like.
I forgot about that part of the song for a second, because I think it's talking about him or maybe someone in the band having like a manic episode while they're on tour too.
Yeah,
because he's doing the type of shit people do when they're fucking manic. And like delivering psychosis over the phone to you.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great line, and I love the way that the song picks up. Like when it comes to that part, like that's like, I just love the way that like it shifts gears into that chorus or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that chorus is so good.
It's just so catchy. It's like I don't even understand how you write that song because it doesn't make much like their songs are so interesting because a lot of the pieces when taken by themselves don't seem like they would fit together and then they just make them work perfectly. Yes. Like this song is like a perfect example of that because the beginning part almost sounds like I don't even know what to compare it to. It just sounds like another band writing a song and then they go into the chorus and it sounds like Lagwagon and you're like, okay, whatever's going on.
Yeah, it's those elements that like what we're talking about at the very beginning, just like what make it more unique and where they've sort of like really defined their own sound here is because they are doing those things where it's like we're just going to take these elements that only we would think to do and then pair them with some of the more like the things that you kind of expect from this band.
Yeah.
Like slowing things down and just like stripping it back to like you only hear the bass in certain parts. You just weren't hearing a whole lot of bands in this genre doing those types of things.
No.
And it's also what makes the song feel like it fits in with the rest of the songs on the album too. Yeah,
absolutely. It's definitely like another one of those things where he's admitting that that sometimes being in a band kind of sucks, but also like
right.
He loves doing it, but at the same time like he obviously misses whoever he's talking about, and it's sort of like admitting weakness. You know what I mean? Like especially in a punk. Like in the punk scene where like it's so like hyper masculine a lot of times, this song's very interesting as far as like a confession goes.
Yeah.
Mostly because touring is always so romanticized.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it fucking sucks. If you've ever been on tour with a band, it's the worst thing in the world. But like obviously you love it at the time, but then like reflecting on it, you're like, oh God, like it really was not very fun, and you're sick all the time and drunk and like
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny to like think that anybody romanticizes it when almost any song you hear a band sing about being on tour, first of all, sucks.
Yeah.
Second of all, like they're never talking about the good stuff. They're never talking about the good stuff. It's always about the things that really, really like are the worst elements of it.
Right.
But this song's great just because it has that added sort of humorous side to things.
Oh, for sure.
And I love this song. This is like one of the examples of why, like coming back to Lagwagon and like really listening to these records like in depth for the first time in a really long time. It's like, over the years, like drift a little bit away from punk music and kind of like, you still like listen to it here and there. And like, I'm listening to pieces and parts of these records. And then I come back to it and listen to the whole thing. And I always end up wondering, it's like, oh, when I come back and like fully immerse myself back in this thing, am I going to like it as much as I did originally?
Right.
And this like songs like Sleep and Mr. Coffee and really like all the songs that Lagwagon writes that are under 2 minutes long are the reason why I put them like why I like them more than just about any of the other bands that play this style of music. Because those are the songs where I feel like they're having the most fun. And I'm just like endlessly entertained by Lagwagon's ability to write really fast, short songs. Like they're really, really good at it. At least as far as I'm concerned.
Show me another band that can beat Randall Gets Drunk. Like honestly, it's such a good song.
So I really like Sick. I could see how this could maybe have been like a song that like people who like this record don't like this song, because it does feel, this is the first, for me this is the first song on the album that feels like maybe it doesn't fit. It sounds like something that belonged on
Yeah,
Double
I can see
Platinum.
that.
I would say that there are at least two of the B-sides to this that would be like, if you're wanting to just be like all fucking killer, no fucking filler, just balls to the walls, you should have either put Wind in Your Sails or Over the Mountain
Yeah,
in
Over the
place
Hill.
of this. They don't sequence well here, right?
yeah. I think.
We'll talk about all the B-sides, but yeah.
Well, certainly, yeah. No, I want to leave that
Yeah.
for later, but I just want to say, like, those don't necessarily fit here. And what this here is like what we were talking about on an earlier episode. It's a cool down match, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just had a
Yeah.
fucking 5-star classic. People want to go to the fucking pisser. People want to buy popcorn. And so you send out either like the worst women wrestlers you have, which that's just what they do, or you send out fucking Big Show to squash somebody. You know, you don't. You don't
do some
fucking-
gimmicky bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't just go. At least on an album.
yeah.
If it was an EP or 7-inch, absolutely go.
Oh,
go,
sure.
go, but not on an album.
Yeah,
so
I
I think
guess
it's perfect for where-
that's true.
Yeah, this one, it slows it down for sure.
Yeah, it's
I
like
would
a
never
good,
listen to this on my own, like outside of the album.
Yeah, this would not be something I would ever put on, just because like I like it and like I know it's mostly because this album's just like burned into my memory. Like I know all the lyrics as soon as it comes on and everything. But this is like such a weirdly like it's one of those like serious confessional songs that I'm always like,
Very.
you know,
Yeah.
because it reminds me of like you know the band Shudder to Think. Like that's what it reminds me of. Is this song reminds me of one of their songs because that's like their whole shtick is like confessional shit. Which this is fine. It's fine. It just feel like there's you know it's like it. Most of the other songs, like even though they are about serious topics or whatever, they're still like kind of playful. You know what I mean? Not necessarily lyrically, but like musically. Whereas this song just sounds like it's just mad at itself or something like that. I don't know. It's like
Yeah,
it's just
I
got a
get
weird
that
like.
feeling, but that's what he is, though, too, right? Like
True,
if you look
yeah.
at the lyrics, he's very
Right.
mad at himself in here.
And that's
Yeah.
why I feel like it belongs on Double Platinum, because that record has like even more just like
Oh,
as angry as some of the lyrics are on Haas. Double Platinum is like, dude, what is going on? It's just like it's fucked up. Like,
Wait, did Platinum or Feelings come out next?
Double
Platinum. Yeah.
Okay, because I actually think that having Let's Talk About Feelings be the album that follows that is really funny now. We mentioned this.
Well, yeah, especially because like when you think about Double Platinum, it's a weird album. I love that album, but it is weird. And then you go to Let's Talk About Feelings, which is 30 minutes of pure enjoyment. You know what I mean? Like it's 28 minutes and like 23 seconds or whatever. And I only know that because like we listened to it like 7,000 times the day it came out and like just kept repeating it over and over. Whereas with Double Platinum, there's no way I'm listening to that album more than one time through in a sitting. Like, because it's just got so much weird shit going on. It's almost like it was like a tryout for before they did Bad Astronaut or something like that. Like it feels like he wanted to do something different, but then like they just decided to do it as Lagwagon instead of moving it to a side project or whatever. But
I can see
too.
that.
Yeah. Well, because these songs, now that we're talking about this, do have more of like a Bad Astronaut vibe to them, right?
Double Platinum.
Well, Double Platinum or like the types of songs like Sick or Ride the Snake, you know.
Yeah, it's
Ride the
like
Snake,
much
closer.
Yeah, because it's like
Astronaut.
It's definitely more because Bad Astronaut's more like his like it's very confessional like a lot of times. Like I think that was the more whereas with Lagwagon he tends to just write like not silly songs. Obviously, we talked about how good the songwriting is, but like it's a different style of writing. It's more observational than confessional. Whereas with this song, this is 100% confessional. Like, you know, and I think people who like their old stuff would like this song. I would think.
Yes,
because
and
it
that's
has that kind of
another
like
thing that I
yeah.
wanted to say is that I think this one and then the first song on the next side, Rifle, I think are two songs that people that
Oh, yeah.
like those first two records probably really like from this record, I would
Yeah.
guess.
I would imagine because like do you guys want to move on to Rifle because you could just like
Well,
segue
all
into
I was going to say about Sick was like I guess what was your read on the lyrics? Because I think it could really refer to a bunch of different things.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think it's either about opioids or being under psychiatric care, or maybe it's just like straight up depression.
I think it's all three.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it could all be all three.
All three of those things are tightly linked too. So
They are, but like, yeah, it just those were my sort of takeaways from that. But I like the lyrics to this one.
Yeah, I think it's that, or I mean, part of it is just like being like closed off from people as well. Like, I think it's like a lot of like sort of, it's the same theme as like what came up in like, earlier songs where it's like he doesn't want to fucking talk to anybody. You know what I mean? He keeps his mouth shut because he doesn't think he has anything to say that's worth listening to other people or whatever. It feels like a very like a thing that he's so anxious like and like has so much anxiety that it's making him physically ill.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. That too. Yeah.
And then of course you have to put in that. You know what? When this song falls apart for me is the psychosomatic line. When it does that stupid jangly fucking reverb guitar and he says that word, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You had me until that moment, but for some reason in that song, like, it just bugs the shit out of me. I don't know why.
Yeah. That is probably the worst part of the song for me. I think the Silence Lies Empty part towards the end definitely remind me of like very like the way he's singing there kind of reminds me of like going back to like maybe that Truth and Justice song a little. Like the way not like it's almost kind of like the not necessarily the cadence, but like where it's coming from, like in his like diaphragm or wherever.
Yeah, it feels like
yeah.
It feels like he's gonna wrap the microphone cable around his arm like Henry Rollins and start jumping around and shit like on stage.
I mean, I think that's all he does anyway when he's on stage.
Sure. Yeah, but that one specifically feels like it's that part at the end of the song reminds me of like a hardcore song, like that kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Like a bunch of people windmilling and fucking floor punching to it.
Oh man, that like if it was a hardcore song, the second that he hit that word psychosomatic, the entire like the bass drop, like people would just be fucking stoked. Like there's something about hardcore bands and when they use like a $5 word, people fucking go nuts for whatever reason.
Well, it's probably because it's the closest any of them came to reading a book in like 20 years.
Yeah, you fucking knuckleheads, go read a book.
Yeah. And not Henry Rollins' biography either. Something that's a real book.
I just listened to Henry Rollins speak. That's all.
That's my personality.
That's how I read. Yeah.
Audible.com.
All right, that's going to do it for side one. But before we go to side two, let's take a break and do some shout outs or a shout out. I don't know if anybody else has something to shout out, but what I've got for you is a fun clip from a very short interview that Joey Cape gave to Seattle Weekly back in 2011, which was when Fat was re-releasing the first 5 albums, like, remastered and expanded and all that. But it's got some specific questions about Haas that are really fun. So I'll just read this short clip for everybody. Seattle Weekly asks, so they're talking to Joey, why did you decide to call it Haas? And Joey says, somewhere along the line, we realized that we all watched Bonanza when we were kids. It had this great moral integrity to it, which, is funny coming from... Thinking about what you said earlier, Justin, that's funny. Yeah. And then Joey continues, that's the kind of stuff I looked to in my childhood to build character. Bonanza built more character in my life than religion, that's for sure.
I love that so much.
And Haas is the best character. He just seemed like the best person to put on the cover. And Seattle Weekly says, did you get permission to use this image on the cover? And Joey said, we did not, and we got sued. Dan Blocker, the actor who played Haas, was dead when we put the record out, but his son, Dirk Blocker, also, what an interesting name, Dirk Blocker.
He's from Brooklyn. He was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
What?
Dirk Blocker's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or was, well, when it was on.
He was?
He plays Hitchcock.
It's Hitchcock.
No way!
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit! Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all. Oh my god.
Hitchcock sued Lagwagon.
What? Dude, my head is like, oh my god. What?
Yeah. I thought you guys knew that.
I
Yeah.
did not know that at all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Jesus. Okay. Anyway, Joey said his son Dirk Blocker, who was one of the people in charge of his estate, lived in Santa Barbara, where our band is from. And Sean Dewey's mom was in a record store in Santa Barbara when the record came out. It was in a display right up front, and she was standing there looking at the record, really proud. And he's standing there holding the record, looking at it too. And she says, "This is my son's band." And he looks at her and goes, "This is my dad." So that's how we were discovered. Then his estate contacted Fat and said they weren't going to issue a cease and desist. For whatever reason, he was just a cool guy, and they let us keep the cover. All they asked is that we pick a charity and donate a certain amount of the proceeds from the record to it. And that's amazing. Good on you, Hitchcock.
Yeah, it makes sense though, because you would think, like, I mean, when you watch him on that show, I feel like he probably has a pretty good sense of humor because he's like willing to degrade himself on camera. So, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
Plus, like look, Bonanza was on for 400 something episodes. He's got money. He doesn't have to have, he doesn't have to sue a Fat Records band to get his,
Yeah, definitely. My God, 450 episodes. That's still mind-boggling.
Yeah, you've learned a lot today about the Blocker family and also about Bonanza.
You've really opened my eyes. This is why you're here.
Well, I got to put this knowledge to use somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I can sympathize with Joey Cape getting moral integrity from a possibly show with antiquated views.
Sure.
Because 1990s Bret Hart is probably where I got most of my moral integrity from, and he certainly said some things back then.
That is true. He definitely did. But I mean, I can see it. It's like an all-American, like not even like tough guy show. It's just like a show where, like, anything back then. It's like the good old days type of thing. And it's like, I don't know, man, the fucking Western pioneer living wasn't as clean as this makes it out to be, but
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have anything else they want to shout out?
Is it like anything?
Yeah, whatever you think is interesting that you want to shout out and have maybe the audience would be interested in.
Yeah, if you haven't played Lego Builder's Journey yet, please do. It's a great puzzle game, and I highly recommend it. I was just playing it right before I hopped on here. This has nothing to do with the Lagwagon or anything like that. It's just it's a very pleasant experience. It's almost like a Zen garden experience to play that game. So it's very fun.
To me, just looking at pictures of it, so I know a lot about it now. It looks like Minecraft mixed with Animal Crossing. Is that accurate?
Yeah. No, because you don't actually like you're not in charge. It's all like, it'll be like a screen that has like one panel and you have to solve a little puzzle. Then you move on to the next screen that has another panel and you have to solve a little puzzle by using Lego pieces.
But it's like, that's cool.
But it's very like minimalistic, and like the music is very pleasant, and like everything about it, it's not hard. Like none of the puzzles are like, what the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? Like it's not difficult. It's just like a nice, like pleasant, like evening stroll type game. Like if you don't want to play something that's like gonna amp you up or whatever, you just like kind of want to play something that just like is real chill. It's a very like definitely a very chill game. So if you're looking for something like that relaxes you, then I would definitely like, it's sort of a meditative type game, I think.
Yeah, that
Does
sounds
it
nice.
does it pair well with Indica?
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely a body high, you know, the Lego builder's journey.
All right, let's talk about Rifle then. So for me in particular, Rifle was probably a song that I didn't really appreciate as much before. I guess before listening to it again, I appreciate Rifle a lot more now listening to it with older ears instead of younger ears. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that. Coming back to Rifle, which was for me was always one that I like could take or leave. I like it more now.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of this has to do with um, just us going through all these old albums and reaching this point where we've now listened to, all these old records that were pulling influence from Bad Religion, which I think this song for me feels like they're going back to that well, but it doesn't sound like Bad Religion this time. It sounds like they're
Yeah.
taking the approach but then making it their own. And that's why I appreciate the song more than I did before, because whereas on these other records that we've listened to, if it sounds like Bad Religion, it just sounds like Bad Religion. It just sounds
Yeah.
like they just took it and was just like, oh, this is just us doing that thing.
Right.
But Rifle, to me, sounds like Lagwagon was like, all right, let's take that, let's take the approach, and then let's add our own like actual like take on it with this new sound, and it works really well.
Yeah, I think it's a good. I mean, definitely a good song. Like as far as like lyrically, I really like it a lot. It definitely sounds like an old Section 8 song, like something that they repurposed, almost. But I think it's great. It's very straightforward. That's for sure. There's no ambiguity to what he's saying. So it's
No,
like,
yeah, this is one of the few songs that doesn't really have like the lyrics that you're just like, what is this about? It's pretty.
yeah,
cool
that's the
stuff.
one. That's why I like. That's why I figure I always thought that it was like it's the one that sticks out the most to me. That it was maybe an older song that he wrote a while ago, and they just like were like, oh, we're gonna put it on here because it's like a fast kind of aggressive sort of song or whatever. But I do like that it starts out with the fucking calling someone a fucking hypocrite. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, as far as the lyrics go, the one thing I picked up on today is, at least I think, the Rifle is like finger pointing, right? Blaming people.
That's what I'm gonna guess, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
That was the only real insight, and that's like I think the only thing that's like kind of a little hidden in this, maybe, is what Rifle he's talking about. But like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really even know. Like, the Rifle me part is always like, I don't know what it means exactly. For some reason, I just can't. I've never been able to like latch on to what that part really means. Because I used to think he just said he was saying right in front of me back in the day before I knew what he was actually saying.
rightfully I thought was one of the words in there. I knew there was a rifle, but I just kept hearing, no, I think I always thought of him saying rightfully instead of rifle me.
Sure. It's one of those. It's also one of those very Joey Cape pronunciation things.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? He has like certain words and certain things that he does in songs where it's like, so it could be you if you were listening to it, and you didn't have the lyrics in front of you, it could be like 20 different things probably.
I think that and I tend to see that as a skill and not as a thing that he's like working against him or whatever.
Oh no, I think it's great. I always love that part of like his delivery of lines and stuff. I always think it's really cool. That's also another thing that's like a very specific Lagwagon thing, is his way of like delivering lyrics, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think Ari from Lifetime is a little similar. And just kind of the like slurring words together to get it to like fit into the song and like doing it well, because like I think that's like a real fucking art that like bands that want to be verbose, I think the singer has to be actually good at getting all that crap into the song.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
it's really fucking difficult to do, I'm sure. Just like there's so many times where I'm listening to a song like, how did you do that? It's like, how do you even think of a way to make that fit into the structure of your melodies?
Yeah, Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Weak. Which
All I wrote on my note for this was, "It's fine, fitting name because it's one of the weakest songs on the album."
that's literally what I wrote.
I don't. If we're gonna talk about a song that does not belong on this album, I gotta say it's this one, because I just don't think it's a very good song at all. Personally, I think it's like a fluff song.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I tend to agree. You know, of all the songs on this record, there's only two that I would just kick off of it completely. This is one of them.
Yeah.
It's just okay. You know, it
That's
really
fine.
does. This one does feel like sort of like filler.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I would, again, as I was talking about, there are excellent fucking B-sides.
Yes,
This could have been swapped with one of those.
it
yeah.
absolutely could have
Easily,
This is-
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's criminal that some of these B-sides didn't end up on this record.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. or this song, instead of switching out with the B-side, it just could have not been recorded at all. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
Don't even have it.
Yeah. You don't have to have this be a B-side.
Mostly because it's like I feel like this, especially this middle part of the album, like this kind of grinds it to a halt almost for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This is where side two is doesn't run as smoothly for me as side one.
Yeah, not at all. No. And I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead, man. Sorry.
I was gonna say that like it's definitely one of those, like, Lagwagon is a band that works best in a small contained area. I think, like, when you think about Let's Talk About Feelings, that is an efficient album.
Extremely.
28 minutes. There's not a bad song on it. It just like goes and goes and then it's done. But like with this and like Double Platinum, they're so long that they just end up like kind of falling apart under their own weight in a sort of way, in some ways, and then like if you think about like, or when they have like a very focused sort of thing, like with Resolve, it being like a concept album about Derek Plord's life or whatever, like that sort of, like, they work really well with that because he has something like specific to focus on and like work towards, but I just feel like sometimes with a lot of their albums, like you just get to a certain point and you're like, well, I don't know why this song is even on here. Then you get to the fucking B-sides and you're like, why the fuck isn't this song? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I would make that argument for most records, that like there's most records have more songs than they need.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes bands just they just kind of fill it out a little bit for whatever reason. And yeah, this is not a highlight from this record by any means. No. But how do we feel about Black Eyes? Because I think it is a good song. It's got the hook is good enough. It's fast and it has like some entertaining flourishes to it. Like they throw in like a bass solo and like in the beginning of the second verse, I think. But like for me, this feels like it's similar to Bombs Away in the way that it sounds, but it's just not as good.
Yeah, it's I think you're right. It's kind of a sequel to that song almost in a way. Only this time the song is literally about Joey, I think, as opposed to like someone else. But like I wrote down like this is like it's a very catchy song and it's like basically a quintessential Fat Record sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this sounds like if you heard this song, you'd be like, and somebody was like, well, what record label do you think it's on? You'd be like, oh, it's a Fat Record song because this sounds like what that record label sounded like back then, for sure. But I still think like the way it's written is, I think like as far as the implications for later on Lagwagon, like in their career, this song is like really like lyrically really well written, and it sort of like shows off what he would do with later albums and everything. But I also agree with you that it's not like my favorite song on the album, and it sort of is redundant in a lot of ways because it is sort of similar to Bombs Away. But
yeah, that's generally how I feel about it. Ben, what did you think?
Yeah, no. So this was one where so I agree with everything Justin was saying about the song itself. there was something you had said. It'll come back to me at some point. That lit something in my brain, but I agree that it's definitely about him in the third person. Like that the stuff about the family I'm not really understanding, but like certainly like this idea. I mean, I do think kind of like that first part where he knows no shame and takes no blame could really just be about Donald Trump. I felt like I had to get one of those in. I mean, like that whole fucking thing is about him to some degree.
Yeah.
The simpleton sees everything.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So what, like, lyrically, how did you read this one, Ben?
I've been trying to think a lot about it. So, I mean, I think it's kind of most broadly looking at it. He's talking about how, like, again, like, kind of this web, like the web he's caught in almost, right? Like, he's recognizing that, like, a lot of things that were given to him by his family end up being kind of harmful, even if they were given like as like lovingly in some sense, right?
Okay.
He himself, like if we're thinking of this as Joey Cape himself, because like the everything else, right? Like after that, I think is more so about like kind of a getting past that. The only part that I can't for the fucking life of me figure out what is going on there is the no guns, no drugs, no rape, no end part.
So
No clue.
I know. But that was actually one of the things that got me thinking about like how this is about like disillusionment with our culture.
Yeah.
And like the way that we live, and how like the older you get, the more you kind of see that like all the things that you've been told to believe about like the place that you live and the culture you exist in like aren't actually true. It's a lot of projecting. It's a lot of just like, you see a lot of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Which that's why he says, why I think the snippet that I pulled was when he says he's searching for the light switch in the dark to switch his routine, to find a reason, to find faith and peace of mind. When one too many beliefs die, it's tough to see through those black eyes.
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly there. Here, it's almost as if this is probably the song that got them to name it Haas. With
I
what
can
we've been
see,
talking
yeah.
about Bonanza, and how
Right.
like Bonanza is where he got his morals from.
Yeah. Then
yeah.
you see that it's bullshit because that's not real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good read.
Very good pull. Okay. Let's move on to Bro Dependent, this is easily one of my favorite songs on this record.
Oh, for sure. It's one of my favorite Lagwagon songs in general because it's the precursor to me of like of what's the it's the sort of the I feel like the seed is planted for what Let's Talk About Feelings is going to become like later, because this song sounds like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it has that feel to it, which I just this song rules.
Yes. It just fucking like it gets stuck in my head like no other, man. Like that hook, I don't know, man. It's so good. Just the whole cadence of how he's delivering the vocals. It's just it's impossible to get it out of my
such
head.
a like it's like a like he's like I feel like he's singing like on a winding path or something. It's so like it's so interesting the way that he delivers all the lines in this, because the way it's written, like when you read it, like some of the lines are like three words, and then there will be like a 5 or 10 word sentence. You know what I mean? It's so crazy to write a song like that, but it works really fucking well.
Yeah. It's just putting emphasis in certain places. It's great. Ben, how do you feel about this one?
So I love the song, though. Honestly, for some reason, like I can think of most of these songs like just front to back in my head. I love this song, and I just can't But I have, as far as a lyrical take on this, I mean, is this? I think it's kind of obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It's codependency, right? And yeah,
I think it's that, and I think it's also like, again, another song about like never speaking your mind about anything. Like when things are bad or whatever, and then you do something, you get like shitty drunk and then you say a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
It's basically like,
yeah. I was reading it as like he's sick of listening to somebody's like excessive complaining about their problems, sort of like in Bombs Away.
And he's talking about that lady again. He's sick of her ass.
Like
this moment.
He says, "I take it in excess." Like that's why I keep thinking it's like he's just so fucking tired of hearing it. And like I was like, definitely picked up on it, potentially having something to do with excessive drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I assume.
Yeah,
and then like it's like a person drinking and then spilling their guts.
Yeah,
and it's
like
the same thing every fucking time, and you just
Right.
are like, why?
He's really struggling with communicating his feelings without being harsh, without being like so harsh that it hurts them really bad.
Yeah, and it's sort of like because the last line is basically about like saying what you think, but you probably should have waited.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like maybe form the thought a little bit better because you might hurt somebody's feelings by being like too honest or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But goddamn, it's a great song. Holy shit.
The perhaps another drink was the line I needed to read in the song to like trigger exactly what it is. You guys are absolutely right about the meandering in the song. Like Lagwagon does that really fucking well.
Yeah. It's shocking to me that you could write that many lyrics for a song and still have it be cohesive and catchy. Because it's like reading it's like a book, It's just so much going on. But he does that all the time, and that's what I love about it, because they're not really a band that like repeats themselves very much. Even their choruses are like weirdly like non-repetitive, and like it's always just very interesting.
They know how to change it up and keep things interesting and fresh.
Or it's like often like a single chorus and then maybe like a refrain. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like but those choruses get stuck in your head, which is weird because you don't hear them multiple times in the song. But they're like, I can like recall like almost every chorus to like every song on this album, basically. Even though you only hear it one time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about the best song on this record.
Obviously.
It's the best. It's the best song. Like, in my opinion, I don't think any other song on this record beats this one. It is my absolute favorite. I have like a really great memory tied to the song as well, seeing them live for the first time.
Sure.
So there's very little that could possibly top this one. This is one of my like top 5 Lagwagon songs, no question.
Yeah, this song is great because when this album came out, I remember like this was kind of the hit from it, like for people, because they just love this song because it, it's like, especially when you're like 15 years old, this song's perfect for being a 15-year-old, because you're just like, oh yeah, this girl broke up with me, I'm gonna be a shitty little asshole about it, I'm gonna grow my little beard, and I'm gonna treat everybody like shit, and then I'm just gonna act like a dick for a while, and then but this song it just rules. This song is like great.
It really is. They did a music video for this one too.
Yeah, they did, and that's the dumbest music video of all time.
It's so great.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. Everything about this song, I just,
Yeah. I've watched it. Like, I've never been like a big music video person, but I did buy the DVD with all of like the Fat Wreck videos on it. Yeah. It was like Peep Show or something.
Yeah.
And I would watch the Lagwagon, like the video for this song, all the time. I just loved it so much. But it's just like everything about it. It's just so good.
Do you think I have this like weird? I had this weird thought in my head, and I think I've had it for years. But like, do you think that Joey Cape thought up the using "Come All Ye Faithful" in a song and then just wrote this song around it? Because like it's clear that moment is like the showpiece thing.
It is.
And
I could see it.
It comes out of fucking nowhere, and it just is so badass, and I love everything about it.
It's so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, there are other Lagwagon songs that I think have, I mean, obviously for all of us, like much more emotional significance, but
Sure.
I think this one has just like, I love it. It's just pure joy.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
fucking
just
awesome
so much
song.
fun. Yeah. This was the first song that I ever crowd surfed to.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Actually, so like for me getting into Lagwagon, the first song I heard was obviously May 16th. And I, for whatever reason, like it just sounded too much to me like a band like Newfound Glory when I heard it. I just wasn't in the right mode to receive it.
Sure.
And then I heard this song and I was like, this band fucking rules. And like it was off to the races from there.
Yeah, it's like the perfect example of the fun Lagwagon song.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because they have like a handful of those, like we talked about, like Randall Gets Drunk and like that kind of thing, like or like Come On E and that kind of like those weird like funny songs, like sort of like where Joey keeps showing off that he can like write something funny. But like there's literally like nothing that tops this song as far as that goes.
Yeah.
This is like such a quintessential like classic Lagwagon song that like I can't like. No other band could play this song. Nobody else could make this song. It's like literally like them. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because like you couldn't. I wouldn't buy this from NoFX. Like
No,
it just doesn't. I don't think it would. It works for a band, even for them. And like that's like, and NoFX is like the closest thing that like the band that comes the closest to Lagwagon, but is still so different in so many ways.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like it's because you like. If you don't have the sincerity aspect that Joey Cape has, then you can't sell this song.
Exactly.
But because he's so sincere about every other song, he can sell this fucking song. Like it's no problem. But if Fat Mike did it, like he's already so fucking up his own ass about everything that like it's impossible that you would never buy it, you know?
Yeah.
Like you just assume that Fat Mike is always just a little shitty asshole about everything anyway. So like that's why this song wouldn't work for them. And I can't even imagine listening to somebody cover this song. I would fucking just blow my fucking eardrums out.
Don't even put that out there.
I know I shouldn't have put that out in the universe.
Because
someone's gonna fucking do it.
I gotta say, I've always thought that if I ever had a band, I would fucking love to cover this song.
It's probably so much fun to play this song.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Or fucking karaoke. Like some fucking bar needs this on karaoke.
This song 100% would be a perfect karaoke song.
It really would.
And it's like I love it because it's like it's a perfect length. Everything about it is like great. All the lyrics are so good. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just like here and then it's gone. And you're like, I'm gonna listen to that again. Like it's definitely like one of those ones you just like replay, you know? Yeah. It's the song that the replay button was made for, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I'm not usually that person that like listens to a song. It's like, I need to hear it again right now. Like this is one of them.
For sure.
God, I love everything about it. It's a perfect song.
Yeah.
And I just love that the sense of humor that's like driving it doesn't go for cheap laughs. It's very clever. And like it just like it's all supported by the music so well.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about this, what we were talking earlier about Joey using words that it's like phrasing that could like, if you're not listening close enough, you might think he's saying another thing that actually also fits.
Right.
And when he says, I think she met Don Juan in Italy, it also could be like, and I thought when I first heard the song that he was saying, I think she met the one in Italy.
Oh, I see. Yeah, sure.
Because Don Juan and the one, when he sings it, they're almost interchangeable. And they kind of are interchangeable, even as an idea.
Yeah.
And I love that. Absolutely love that.
I was going to point to that line as being one of my favorite things because it's such a hilarious lyric because it's already like a stupid hackneyed thing to call somebody Don Juan, you know, but like it works so well in this song because it's just like so tongue in cheek about everything. So I just love that he says it because I just imagine him like, oh, he's a real Don Juan, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, but it's perfect.
Also, to top everything off, we got a straight up, like, he's mentioning Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks
Oh yeah, true.
and Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
Yeah, everything like all the weird harmonies he does with himself on the track, like when they like double track the vocals and stuff, is just so good. It's just everything about this song is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Now all my friends are gonna call me Mountain Man.
Yeah, such a great lyric.
That's my actual like favorite line from the whole song was, now my friends are gonna call me Mountain Man and everyone will think that I'm a stupid drifter.
Yeah,
It just makes me smile every time I hear it,
too.
no matter how many times I hear it. It's just
For sure.
so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a classic. But as just as we've established, the best songs are often followed by the most drastic cooldown matches you've ever seen. And Shaving Your Head is the other song on this record that I think you could have just completely cut this one.
Well, so do you like, though, that they followed up Razor Burn with a song about shaving your head?
That's funny, yeah.
It's pretty funny because the song Razor Burn is sort of about being ashamed of yourself. And then but it's in a funny way. And then Shaving Your Head is about like having depression because you got everything you want in life and you realize all of it's bullshit. And then you drastically change yourself. And it's like Jesus Christ, like you really changed gear. Like you went from 70 miles an hour on the highway and then just slammed your car into reverse. It's fucking crazy. But you're right. This song doesn't really, I like it. It's fine, whatever, but it's not,
Yeah.
It's
just kind of, it feels like a throwaway to me. It feels like whatever. It does kind of feel like, it feels like filler, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just talking about the music. Like, I think the lyrics are good.
Yeah.
It's to me, my read is that it's like a drug addict who's enjoying how miserable he is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
So the thing about that is, to kind of transition us, since none of us seem to like this one that much, to transition into Ride the Snake.
Mm-hmm.
I initially always thought Ride the Snake was about drug addiction. And I think it was just because of the name, because I thought it was supposed to be like a riff on Ride the Dragon. And maybe there is an addiction element to it.
I thought it was sort of like, I guess to me, it's like, he's dealing with somebody who is an addict, but like has like a shitty, like druggy boyfriend or whatever. And they're just like fucked up all the time. And he's like, am I going to see this person, like the real you, or am I going to see, this version of you that's on drugs all the time, At least that's what I thought it was about.
That was my read on it, was that it is. I don't know. It is the drug song that I thought it was, I think.
I think so. I think it is, but it's just like, I don't know. The song, like, to me is like it's so hard to listen to. So it's hard for me to really pay attention to it.
So I've really come around on this song. I did not like it when I first got this record, and like feel like, most of the time that I've been listening to Haas in my life, like I usually skip this one. I usually end it probably at Razorburn.
Sure.
But now it might have been when I saw them play all of Haas live and they did Ride the Snake that I sort of like kind of came back around on it, like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is like Lagwagon. I don't know if I don't know if they usually do this. Doesn't always feel like they do this, but like it feels like a very deliberately written as a last track to this record.
That feels like that, yeah.
It's always supposed to be this way. It's why it sounds so different from everything else. It's got so much more of like a grunge influence to it.
It feels like a snake slithering. The music does.
I can see that.
Yeah. Just like that distortion and just the way that they're playing the guitars. Yeah.
I just hate that fucking wah pedal shit so much. It makes me so mad every time I hear it.
I mean, I think I like the sort of psychedelic edge that it has.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Cool.
It does reinforce like the song, like the content. You know,
the main idea. The main idea is stated through the music and through the lyrics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I do. It feels like it's definitely about drug addiction.
Okay, I think it is. I think it's about drug addiction in the band, though. Just because just one question: will I see you at the show tomorrow or the steak?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. But yeah, I just don't know what else it would be when he says, "Time to ride the snake." Oh, eyes gone dead and blank. I don't want to talk to a stranger I once knew.
I wonder if it's about some. I don't even know if it's somebody in the band necessarily. I wonder if it's just about another musician that he knew, somebody from another band. You know, like that they would like play shows together, and he was just like, and then like they do fucking heroin, basically. I guess.
Yeah. Well, so the only reason I think it could be in the band from the lyrics is that they will all still love us if they cannot feel our hell, and that they could never tell we are losing weight.
Yeah,
but that's why I thought he was, like he's writing that from the perspective of the person that he's talking about. You know what I mean?
That's possible as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with every single one of these songs, there's like a million interpretations. I think the Sherilyn Fane reference in Razorburn is so good because like I think he's on some fucking David Lynch shit with this album.
It's possible for sure.
Where like Lynch has like this very specific vision.
Yeah.
And then he's like, doesn't fucking matter what what your interpretation is, but like there's a very specific vision from Lynch, and then it fits anybody's interpretation. It's like almost like a Rorschach test.
Yeah. What if this song is just actually like Joey Cape thinks a person is a snake? That's the David Lynch twist, is like he knows he thinks somebody's a lizard person.
Yeah, lizard people.
Yeah, well, this whole time Joey Cape's just really big on conspiracy theories. We just didn't know it. All right. That's going to do it for the actual album. But the B-sides to this record are so fucking good that we have to talk about them.
They're like fucking sterling. Like, it's insane that you could even call, like, why? How in the fuck are these B-sides?
How did you record these songs and look at them all together and be like, no, like I don't get it.
How do you write a song as good as Wind in Your Sail and then be like, that's not good enough for the album?
That's the actual last track on this record. Like that's the one.
Yeah.
That should have been the closer in my mind.
Yeah, because that song just fucking hammers. Like, it's so good.
And it fits
one of my favorites by them, for sure.
Yeah, it is one of their best songs.
Oh, easily.
And I'll just say that, like, Lagwagon is the band, like, when I was first getting into music, and I would hear people talk about, oh, B-sides and stuff like that, I was always of the mind early on that I was like, oh, they're the songs that didn't make the record, so they are not as good, right?
Right.
And then I remember I was at the Warped Tour, and I was like looking around for something to buy, and I found, I think it was the My Records booth, and they had Let's Talk About Leftovers. And I remember being like, oh, how come I've never seen this one before? I don't even know what this is. And I look at like the track listing, I was like, oh, this is like all the other songs that aren't on any of the records. So I like bought it just because I was like, yeah, why not? And that was like the reason why, or like that was like the moment where I realized it's like, oh, B-sides, they just didn't go on the record. It doesn't mean that they're worse. Yeah. And they are, in fact, often very good or better than a lot of the songs.
I can't even imagine another band that has an outtakes record like Leftovers Like I can't think of another band who would have a better one. Because like let's talk about Leftovers is literally like basically just a good album. It's not even like it doesn't even feel like it's like, oh, these are outtakes, these are rarities, these are B-sides. It feels like they deliberately put all those songs on there and they're just really good songs and you're like, what the fuck? How does any band do that? I don't even understand, you know?
As a young music fan, it confused the hell out of me. It's like,
Oh,
wait,
sure.
why didn't these end up going on like an actual record? It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I never knew when they recorded which songs. So seeing all of these songs attached to the remastered and expanded version of Hoss is like amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because it was one of those eye-opening things where I was like, "Yep, that makes a lot of sense that all of these songs were all together." But it's just really unbelievable.
I kind of like wish they would have resequenced the album and like put them in there, just to like just for fun, like just to see where they would have thought they went in the album. Because I don't even know. You're right. "Wind in Your Sail" will be a perfect ending song to that album, but like, I don't know. Just like they're so good. It's so stupid why they fucking, you know.
Well, let's talk about "Wind in Your Sail" because this is like one of the most angry, malicious songs that he's ever written.
Sure, he was fucking
ridiculous
that day.
It's like it makes you just want to like call Joey and be like, "Who hurt you?
Yeah,
what's going on here? What the fuck?"
I love it because it's like it's a great like stage of a like breakup where you're just like, you know what? I hope this fucking person falls flat on their fucking face. I'm sick of like I don't even know what I saw them in the first place. You know, the only reason they were ever cool is because of me. You know, that kind of thing. Like where you get like involved in that sort of thinking.
Yeah, and it's like what's funny too is it's like a really mean song. There's no cursing.
No.
So the weird thing though is I do think that there is a bit of him talking about that the person who hurt him most is actually just himself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like the phrase "wind in your sail," right, means that you're making somebody more confident to do something, right?
Yeah.
So why he's the wind in their sail? You know, I think it's mostly just meaning that like everything he's doing, like to try to hurt them, or you know, his bitterness is ultimately just propelling them forward and tearing him down.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I can see that. But I'm gonna read it the other way, where it's just like the person go fuck themselves.
Yeah. No, hey, there have certainly been times when I've listened to this song and definitely that in mind. Man.
It's excellent. Yeah, and it's like, it is definitely like one of their most intense songs.
That's the song that I would be like, if somebody asked me like, what's a good song to listen to? I just broke up with somebody. I'd be like, "Wind in Your Sail." It's gonna be, it's a fucking ripper, and it'll make you feel better
for sure
because you get to be mad.
All right, how do you guys feel about Drive By? Because this is another one of my absolute favorites. Like
it's
from their entire catalog.
It's a song like I feel I understand why it wasn't on the album, but it's also so good that like because it reminds me of like it shows where the evolution like of Lagwagon was going because it sounds like later Lagwagon stuff, but also because they put that "Goodbye" from AOL in the song too. There's like a weird sample of the "Goodbye" from the AOL logging off of America Online in the song, like buried towards the end of the song.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and search for that. I've listened to this song like hundreds of times at this point. Like that's bizarre that I've never picked up on whatever that is.
It's probably because you weren't attuned to the America Online noises that they had because you weren't on it 35 hours a day like I was back when I was a teenager.
But I love this song so much. I think this actually would have been a great way to kick off the second side of the album.
Yeah. Sure.
Because it's just like it's short, it's fast, it's fun. I love just like the intro and how like they let the drums solo. it's just so cool.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really creative song. And it very much fits in with how I feel about it. Like all their songs that are under 2 minutes. It's just an absolute joy to listen to, and I can hit replay and still enjoy myself.
Yeah.
This song of the B-sides is one I don't listen to often. Like, it's a fine one, but like just has never made like a terribly strong impression on me. I agree with Justin. Like, I see why it wasn't on the album.
Yeah, it's fair. And then how did you feel about Over the Hill? Because of the B-side, of like, I guess like the really good B-sides, this one, I like, to me, this one feels like I understand why it's not on there.
I get why it's not on there, but I fucking love it.
Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah, it's a real toe tapper.
This song, like, I think is great, and I feel like if you replaced Weak with this song, it'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know why it's not on the album, but I think it's a really great song, and I think that Weak is not a great song. So it's like, if you're gonna replace it with the B-side that's not as good as the other B-sides, I still love this song. I think it's a fantastic song, but like, I would replace that song with this one for sure, personally.
Yes. Yeah. I could. Yeah. I definitely. You could replace Weak with most of these songs, and it'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
The lyrics, they're good. They're not as, I guess, I don't know. They're not quite as interesting as some of the other ones, but they're good.
No.
I like them.
Yeah.
I like it because it is like, of the songs that we've talked about today, I think like the most, other than maybe Violins, like obvious love song. Except so like the way I'm reading it is like he's kind of like grown as a person, and he did it because of somebody that he had feelings for, and he's kind of questioning like his like he's questioning the whole thing. It is kind of the vibe I get from it, like with the am I holding on to life or holding on to lies?
I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward song, which I enjoy about it.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is kind of toe tappy, now that I'm thinking about it, like.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, kind of like moving in my chair as I even think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way the lyrics, like, I read it as just you're putting a lot of effort into a commitment to a relationship, but the other person doesn't quite give it that same amount of like effort. And that's where he starts to feel like maybe he's just kind of outgrown that person.
Right.
Okay, layman's terms.
I mean, come on, what the fuck? Like, why isn't this song on the fucking album?
Right. I don't really know why this one. I feel like if some of the other songs that are on the album made it, this one should have made it, right?
Yeah. Oh, easily. I mean, this song is so good.
Yeah, I don't understand. This is in the same league as "Wind in Your Sail," in that like it should have been on the record.
Yeah. Because this song, like, if it was on the record, that's kind of like your hit song. I mean, this song would have fucking. It's up there for me with like Violins on this album. Like I think it's that good of a song.
Yeah, it's really fucking great.
Yeah, this is another one that I like, but I don't like as much as you guys. But your guys' praise for it is making me think that I should give it more listens.
I think it's just like I love the way it fits together, because like it's like fast, and then it just like kind of like does a weird like slow. It's not even, I don't even know how the tempo works in it, but it's just like there's something about it that like clicks in my brain, and I'm just like, this is a satisfying thing to listen to.
Yeah, it's got like a great building action to it, and it sort of like gets to that chorus that it's easy to sing along with. Yeah, it just fucking works.
Yeah.
And then like lyrically, I read it as like it's about like a person that's just ignorant doesn't care about trying to expand their worldview, and Joey's just fucking fed up with humoring this fool.
Yeah, it's a person. It's like it's kind of like a person dealing with someone in an echo chamber, sort of thing, where they're like sick. They're sick of their fucking like the way that they view the world. You know, they're just like tired of it, and like go fuck yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's like he's kind of laying it out for them in the simplest terms he can think of, which is by calling them an idiot the entire time.
Yeah. Okay. Defeat You.
Fucking love this song.
Yeah, it's like a quintessential Lagwagon song. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why this song wasn't on some album.
Yeah.
Like
it's so goddamn catchy. It feels effortless the way that it's written. Like it ebbs and flows really, really well. And like I love like the bass intro and all the like the riffs and stuff. Like and then there's like that, I guess it's like a bridge or whatever towards the middle of the song where everything gets like softer and then it like ramps back up. It's just man, it works so well.
Yeah, it's really just a great. I don't know. It's just a great song. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just one of those songs where you're just like, yeah, this is really good. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the lyrics are great. Like everything about it is very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the way the guitar sounds on it too. It's just so cool. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It just kind of like, I mean, because like after it does that bass intro, it just like fucking takes off in the way that Kids Don't Like to Share sort of does.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you guys feel about this early version of Name Dropping? I thought it was like kind of like an interesting outtake.
Yeah,
it was kind of fascinating to hear it, but like I mean, it doesn't beat the album version, but it's interesting.
I just wrote down. I wrote down. I understand why they re-recorded it. That was all I had as far as a note goes on this one.
So like, do the liner notes say when that was recorded? Because like it almost to me sounds like it was like an outtake from Trashed.
It could have been.
May well be.
Like the way it sounds like they recorded it when they recorded Trashed, and then probably decided it needed more work, which it certainly did.
It did.
Turned out much better.
Yeah,
but it's a good it's a very cool artifact.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly how I see it. And then Bitter Old Man, which I had never heard the song. This wasn't even on Let's Talk About Leftovers.
No.
And I understand why it wasn't, because it's not great. Like it doesn't really do much for me.
It's like very long. And
and it actually feels like a much later Lagwagon song.
I know. I wrote down they should have re-recorded this for Hang because it kind of sounds like that sort of era.
It's bizarre because like listening to it, it's like this seems like it's out of time, right? Like it just doesn't sound anything like anything else that they were doing. And it's mostly just the way he's singing. He doesn't start singing like this until much later on in the band.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not like it's a thumbs down for me, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, this was. I mean, out of the entire like collection of songs, this is probably my least favorite out of all of them. Like, I really am just like, I just don't need this.
I think every time I listen to the newer version of the album with all these extra tracks, I turn it off once this song starts.
That's fair.
Like, I'm not gonna be able to help you out with the one after this either, because like I'm just like we're getting into the Ben songs.
Well, the one after this is
the joke. Wait, Ben, you didn't. You got to you had to have listened to Sinatra Gandhi, right?
I don't think so. Is it a propaganda rip or something?
It's 30 seconds of Joey just making fun of.
Oh my god!
It's them playing like lounge music, and he's supposed to sound like Frank Sinatra singing a propaganda song, but he sounds more like Jim Morrison or Fred Schneider. Like if Jim Morrison or Fred Schneider from the B-52s like had a child, it would sound like Joey singing in this song.
if you're gonna do a joke song, like I'm here for this. This is hilarious because
I
it's just
know.
like it's just so goofy. I mean, it's obviously just like they are fucking around in the
Yeah.
studio, and they're just like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we did this? And then like this,
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that this was not a hidden track on this record.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. All I
gotta
wrote
listen
down
to
about
that.
it was God, this fucking shit is so stupid. I love everything about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I need to listen to that because it sounds like a Lagwagon trying to do a well executed version of the NoFX Minor Threat cover.
No,
Right?
it's not that.
Like-
No, that's not
Well,
what
it's,
it is.
you said lounge singing and no.
Yeah.
They're fucking around. It's like it's a
Yeah.
total,
Well, yeah, no.
total
Like
joke.
that's if NoFX had done it, that's what they should have done. Was like
Oh yeah,
30
yeah.
seconds of it and then not
Yeah.
not the whole
Yes.
fucking song. That's
For sure.
That was stupid.
Well, I certainly agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, so that was quite a lot of Lagwagon content.
Hmm.
Yeah, the album should have lost 2 tracks, to be honest.
Yeah.
It should have. Yeah, I completely agree. You knocked this down to 12 songs, and it's stronger.
Yeah.
And it's even stronger if you swap out some of those songs for B-sides. Yeah, this could. I mean, this if you swapped some of the B-sides, this becomes maybe their best record.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, let's talk about feelings is real. That's
how I feel about it. But
that's a stiff competition there.
It is my favorite of their records, I think. I would say that at the moment for me it's like a flawed masterpiece. Is how I'm feeling after this kind of
That's
like
fair.
deeper dive into it. Which I think is how I kind of, I mean, I feel like to a lesser extent Double Platinum is, and then I love Let's Talk About Feelings for what it is, but I don't like it as much as those two.
We'll see if you come around and change your opinion on that, because I'm just curious as to how Let's Talk About Feelings ends up sounding after we've gone through the next couple of years of releases.
Well, I mean, I have been listening to a lot of Agent Orange the past year, so
there you go.
I will be super excited for the Everything Turns Gray cover.
That's a really good cover. It's so good.
Awesome cover.
That is.
Man, they fucking killed that one. That's a good cover. But yeah, Haas, overall, in my opinion, this is one of, not just, when it comes to Lagwagon, the 3 records, Haas, Double Platinum, Let's Talk About Feelings, for me, these are the ones. These are the best things they ever made. And they're also some of the best things that Fat Wreck ever put out.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, we've talked a little bit about Double Platinum today, and it sounds like I'm in the minority in that I think that actually might be my favorite Lagwagon record. Part of that might be because that was the first one that I actually bought.
Oh, that's fair.
The first album that I sat down and like really like bonded with as an album and not just individual songs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But this one gives it a run for its money, that's for sure, especially with those B-sides. It's pretty nuts to look at those B-sides. It's it just feels like criminal in some ways that they didn't end up on the record. Oh well. All right. Now, let's talk about some rival records. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Now that we shared our opinions on Haas, let's expand the conversation and go outside of Fat Wreck by talking about some other albums that came out around the same time. Let's start with Gameface, 3 to Get Ready. So this is the second album from Gameface. And it definitely fits that Fat Wreck sound, but it's almost like if Lagwagon was emo.
Mhm.
That's
Very
the way
emo, yeah.
I was reacting to it. It's fast and catchy pop punk, and it feels very much like something that it feels very 90s.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like very 90s in a lot of
Very
ways.
Yeah.
But like it's that emo side of things that makes me think it was like maybe a little bit ahead of its time, blending those sort of the genres a bit.
Oh yeah.
Because like that, I feel like Gameface would have been a much bigger band in the early 2000s if they had like been able to sort of, I guess, come up around that time instead.
Yeah.
It just seems like they would have fit in a lot more with those types of bands.
Yeah, I think like if they could have been around at the same time as like the movie Life, it would have
Yes.
made a lot of sense.
Yeah. But this record still has like a lot of things like in common with Haas. Like it has a lot of that like bounciness that Lagwagon has on Haas. And like it works for Gameface as well. Though I think that it just Lagwagon overall executes that element better.
Oh, for sure. I don't even have like a lot to say about this album just because like it's fine to me. It's not like anything that I'm super into at all, except for the song Green Tree, because I think that song fucking rules. But like outside of that, it's like, you know, it's kind of just like a general sort of punk album to me, and doesn't really move the needle one way or the other as far as I'm concerned. But that's also because largely this isn't my favorite type of music, so it's not gonna be something I'd seek out, really.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And the guy's voice is very wavery, and I don't really like it very much.
So yeah, I consider Gameface kind of like, along with bands like I guess Lifetime or Texas Is the Reason, as like being bands that really like essentially wrote the playbook for those bands in the early 2000s that got huge. Which most of them will cite Lifetime. Some of them will cite Texas Is the Reason. I don't know if hardly any of them talk about or have listened to Gameface, but Gameface was doing what most of them were doing,
Right.
in my opinion, much better in
Sure.
the 90s. As far as Gameface is, like, this record is good. It is not the Gameface record I normally go to.
Right.
If you want excellent Gameface material, find the record, the LP Every Last Time, and then the Cupcakes EP, which honestly is a really great rival record for Lagwagon, because the song Cupcakes is so fucking stupid but genius at the same time.
Okay. I'm not
like,
familiar with that one.
The guy's like brokenhearted, and he's trying to make cupcakes, and he keeps fucking up the recipe, and he's like, "You're not around, I can't cook." It's so fucking stupid, but it's awesome. So yeah, Gameface, like the first episode we did was the Duh episode, and I had suggested Farside. I think they're another fucking band that, like, in that kind of whatever the fuck you want to, whatever you want to call that music, like, they all kind of
I have in my notes that this reminds me of Farside in some ways.
Oh, they're like very. I'm pretty sure that the singer of Gameface and the singer of Farside have done like acoustic shows together, much like like the other two most emo guys on Fat Rex, Joey Cape and Tony Sly,
Yeah,
doing similar stuff. So
I also have written down here that, like, I didn't look this up, but I'm like almost 1,000% positive that at some point there was a show lineup in 1996 with Lagwagon, Gameface, and Pulley. Like, it just
that sounds right.
If it didn't happen, then why? Like,
that sounds like that sounds like you would see that on a pole outside of Gilman. Like,
yeah, right.
Saturday is or Friday is Green Day, and then Saturday is Pulley and fucking Gameface and Lagwagon.
So, man, fucking, I can't wait. A Steam-Driven Engine came out in '96, so I'm certain we're going to talk about that next season. We'll find a way.
We're definitely gonna. I can't skip that one. I fucking love that record. It's so good.
Me too. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the other rival record. Justin, kick us off.
So I had suggested something that wasn't similar to Lagwagon, but was around at the same time, which is the Muffs. Blonder and Blonder came out the same year, as Haas. And like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm a big Muffs fan. That's like, they're like, to me, the sort of perfect encapsulation of like female fronted pop punk. And like, this album is like, it's just fucking gem after gem as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's one of those albums that I feel like is underappreciated and always will be, just like the band will always be underappreciated. But I think it just like, I don't know. I just think it's a great album, and I think everybody should listen to it, honestly, if you like pop music.
This was my first time listening to it for the show.
Same.
And the one thing I want to know, I looked it up and it didn't seem to be the case, but I could have sworn like they sound like they had songs in Gilmore Girls a bunch. Am I wrong or right about that?
I have no idea.
They maybe just sound like the house band from Gilmore Girls. I can't really figure it out. Like I liked the record a lot. It had like kind of a nice bounciness to it, and I liked kind of the vocal delivery was there. There was kind of like this disinterested trailing off almost that was very 90s to it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, she has such a distinct voice. It's you know, if you hear one Muff song, you're like, oh, okay, that's what that band is, because like there's nobody that's sort of like it's sort of like Lagwagon in that way. Like you can't mistake her voice for anyone else's, because like nobody else sounds like her or has that like specific intonation and all that kind of thing. Plus, I like all their songs because her lyrics are always like very tongue in cheek about everything, and she's kind of like a bit of an asshole a lot of times. So I always enjoyed that about it.
Certainly, it seems like she's pretty pissed off for this entire record. It seems.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny because when you hear the music, it doesn't really
exactly
make you think that, you know. But then you read the lyrics and you're like, oh shit, all right.
And I would actually say that this does feel like it fits as like a recommendation of like, if you like Haas, I think there's a really high chance you would be into this record. I don't think it's that
probably.
It's not so far off from what Lagwagon's doing. You know, I just think that this is more. It's just more on the pop punk side of things, and like the Screeching Weasel in Green Day side of things than anything else.
It's far more like a Lookout Records-ish type of that era, you know.
Right. So were the Muffs on Lookout?
No, it's just like of that kind of you know, sort of sound or whatever, that sort of 3-chord pop punk kind of.
Yeah. I was just curious because I didn't know if any of like their early releases had ever come out on Lookout or something. They feel like a band that like would have been on the label.
Oh, for sure, yeah, absolutely. But no, they never were for whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really unfamiliar with this band. Like, but this was such a good pull. Like, this record is so good. I really, really like it. And I'm going to be coming back to this one because I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess as I was listening to it, I kept thinking to myself, where have I really heard this band before? Because like I've definitely heard their songs, but like, were they? I guess I should just look it up. But were they on like the Mallrats soundtrack or something? It seems like
something like that. They were definitely on soundtracks. I know that.
Yeah,
and like
feels like a band that was like in a record or I mean in a movie that I liked back in high school, and yeah, I
can't place it, but I know that they did a cover of the Foundation's "Build Me Up Buttercup," and it was on a soundtrack or something, and that was like a big hit for them.
That might have been Mallrats.
Maybe it was, but but there's a bunch of songs on this album that I'm always like, I don't know how this song wasn't on the radio. You know what I mean? Like they have like I feel like some of the songs on here just have such broad appeal that you would like. I don't know, put it on, but I guess maybe the I don't know what you would do. It's like why wouldn't you have one of these songs out there? Because it's all like pop, you know. It's just fun to listen to. I feel like, you know.
Yeah.
There's really not even like more. There's like 2 songs on here that I don't really like that much, but like aside from that, I think everything else is like pretty fucking great, you know.
Which ones are you not as big on?
I'm trying to think let me see. I wrote some stuff down. Oh, like Red Eyed Troll. It's just not a very good song. You know, it's like especially like put in between like such good pop songs like sad like what you've done and End It All are like really really great, and then Red Eyed Troll is just like it sounds like a fucking like I don't even understand like what it is, you know. It just sounds like a rockabilly fucking bunch of nonsense to me.
Do you just hate jangle pop?
No, I don't like rockabilly. That's my main thing.
I can see. Oh, God, yeah. I can see
the Reverend Court Pete audience.
Come after me, you bunch of greased up idiots.
Yeah, I just it has like the jangle pop element to it. It like it does in some ways recall a couple of Smith songs for me personally.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm also not a big Smiths person, you know.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, right. But like that said, I kind of agree. Red Eyed Troll. It's like whatever. It's also a little too long. I wish that song was shorter.
I think that's also what it is, because all the other songs like 2 minutes, 1 minute and 30 seconds or whatever, and then you get to that one and you're like, why is this 5 minutes long and in the middle of the album?
Yeah, it's a bad placement for that song for sure.
But then also like the Ethel My Love song, it sounds like it sounds like a fucking Black Keys song, and I'm like, why is this song on here? It doesn't even make any sense. But
it's a weird one, like, but she does that, man. Her like growling thing that she does, like, "Rawr!" Like it's just like she does it like on so many of these songs, and like it a lot of times I wish it wasn't there because it takes me out of it for a second, so it makes me laugh.
Oh, really? I love that about her, because it's just like so like weird and uninhibited. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it lends kind of to like the raw sensibility of it, but it's like so polished. You know what I mean? It's such a weird. That's what I like about it. It's like a jagged piece of glass like sticking out of something. You know,
just I don't know. There's something about it that just pulls me out of it, because I'm just like, who let this fucking mountain lion into the studio?
But yeah, I don't know. I just love that band, and I honestly think that more people should listen to them. You know, unfortunately, Kim Shattuck passed away a couple years ago from MS, but like, yeah, so like you won't get any new music, obviously, but they do have like a lot of really great stuff. And then they recorded a live album back in like 2018, like right before she like really like before things got really bad, and like it's just a great like farewell type thing. And it's really cool. So if you have time, check it out if you ever want to listen to more stuff by them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and after really enjoying this record, I'm definitely gonna dig into the rest of the catalog, because I thought this record was fantastic. Like End It All is man, it's so good.
Oh yeah, such a great song, right?
Okay, so can you help me out with Laying on a Bed of Roses, because it uses a really familiar melody from a different song, like a really like popular song, and I can't figure out what it is. God, it sounds so much like a popular song that I've heard on the radio a zillion times in my life, and I just can't quite place it.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
I don't know, but that song is so good that it like it just. That's one of those songs where I'm like, if anything, this band should be recognized because they made that song, because it's such a good. I like wrote down, this is a top 10 punk song to me. Like if you were gonna make a top 10 list of like quintessential punk songs, I would throw this song on there because it's just so good. But I don't know what melody it uses that you might be trying to place, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have to, well, you know, it's gonna be one of those things where, you know, I'm like driving my car or something, and it'll just hit me out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I'll text you, and you'll be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Does Shazam do partial matches? Maybe you could like play that portion of the song for Shazam, and like it would say like, "This is the perfect match." Obviously, the song is playing, but like this was a partial match,
right? I don't know. I wish though, because like it happens to me a lot these days. Like I'll just like hear something like, "Oh, it sounds like this other thing," and then just like, well, the beginning of Ethel My Love reminds me a lot of like the beginning of American Jesus.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like I playing them back to back, I was just like, yeah, there's definitely like a similarity between the two. It's not the exact same thing, but it's just got the similar sound. Yeah, honestly, I can't believe that this record wasn't more well known. It's really great, and it was on a major label.
Yeah, I know. They're just one of those weird bands that just sort of like, I mean, people who like them really like them, but like, and they have lots of fans, but like, they're just one of those bands that sort of sailed under the radar for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think largely because, as we've discussed, the punk community can be quite misogynist. So a lot of times, like, female fronted bands are not taken seriously by any means, you know?
Yeah, especially at this time.
Yeah. Terrible time for that.
Yeah, for sure.
For real. And like on that note, this would have also been a really great rival record for Tilt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. God, I love Tilt.
Yeah. When we talked about Tilt, like that was I was very pleasantly surprised by how well that held up for me.
Oh,
really,
for sure. Yeah.
Really, that's one of the best ones that we listened to on this first season. All right. Well, let's summarize our experience with Hoss. Let's just go through and you give like your top 3 tracks if you could possibly pick, maybe top 5. I think we know which songs we'd cut and which ones we didn't really enjoy. I think we all pretty much agreed, but let's just give our favorites. Ben, you want to start?
Yeah. So as I said, my favorite is from the album proper. I'm gonna list these out. Is Razor Burn is definitely my favorite, and then the others that I think are just absolute standouts. Honestly, side A. like that side A is fucking perfect.
I'll accept that answer.
Yeah, sure. That's also essentially my answer too.
Oh, okay.
If I had to pick 3, obviously Razor Burn is number 1. There's no question, you know. But then like I think then Violins and then Kids Don't Like to Share probably are my if I had to pick, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say what Ben said.
Right. I pretty much agree. I would probably go Razor Burn, Bro Dependent, and Move the Car are my favorite songs from the actual album. But goddamn, it's so hard to go, wrong with most of these songs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then, yeah, we've already gone through which songs we'd cut and which ones we didn't really care for.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, so we had some games planned, but this recording has been going on for 2 hours.
Yeah, I need to get going here.
Yeah.
I gotta eat dinner.
I think we should executive decision to end this episode, and those games will end up on a B-side later. Alex, you want to send us out?
All right. That's going to do it for this episode and for season 1 of On the Record. A huge thank you to our guest, Justin. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
You've been super helpful to us.
Yeah.
Particularly in helping us get started with the shit, because we had no clue.
For real.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant super helpful in my Bonanza knowledge.
That too.
Jeez. Added so much. But if you have any questions, comments, or most importantly, corrections on anything that we might have gotten wrong, please email us at ontherecord@gmail.com so we can set the record straight in a future episode. And we'll be back in the near future with season 2 of On the Record. Thanks for listening.